So this panel is about grassroots organizing, recruitment, the nuts and bolts. Collectively, at this table, we have 100 years of organizations. So Eric Kippis, he's with the Murphy campaign, but before that, he did the Lord's work with OFA and the Obama, and he's been doing progressive work in the state for too long. Robin Wallace we met her through the Hillary campaign. She's the only one that got people out of New Jersey to go work in Pennsylvania. In my book, it is. And Al Smith used to be the chair of the Democratic Party in Montclair, and he and I manned the barricades on more fights than we cared. And the one time I was on the other side, he kicked my ass. So, you know, and actually the biggest compliment I ever got was being called the white Al Smith. So we'll start with you, Al. We were talking about, you know, a lot of these groups are local, and we were talking the other day, they're local, and what should they be doing to engage in their community? You know, what are the platforms and where are the opportunities for them?
Well, I think that the key to grassroots organizing is just what grassroots was meant to be, from the bottom up. And I think the problem with a lot of campaigns and organizations is that they try to drop into a community from the top down. And when you drop into a community from the top down, you come in with suspicion, and people don't know you and they don't like you. So in order to really have a success as a grassroots organization, you really have to start from the bottom and work your way up. You have to really engage the people in the community. So what normally happens is an organization, whatever their issue is, they come into a community, they try to press their issue, but they've never met anybody in the community, and the people in the community have their own issues. And when I'm working on my issue, I've never seen you at many of my things. So now here you come with your issue and you want my help, but you've never tried to coalesce with me before. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing for campaigns like the Hillary campaign, or anything like that. If they drop in from the top down, it's always a mistake. And you're always going to fail in the long run when you do it that way. You have to know your audience, whatever the issue is. Does the issue resonate with me? You know, I'm a member of the African American community here in Montclair. But if you come down to my community meeting and want to talk about fracking, you know, you're not going to get a lot of traction with me because I'm too worried about the police shooting me. You know what I mean? So I don't really care about fracking right now. But when I was trying to press my issue about police shooting me, where were you? You know, did you coalesce with me about that? So that's you really have to learn where you are as far as your particular issue, and meet the people that are community organizers in the community you're trying to gain traction in.
So Eric and Robin, when you open up offices in these communities, what are you looking for? You know, how do you start networking and engaging? One of the issues these folks want to know is how can they grow, how can they find people, you know, and how can they engage in their local community?
I'll go. You know, when you say the Clinton campaign, it sounds very big, but I was an expansion state organizer in New Jersey, which means I had to get people to commit to spending, not just to make a phone call or do something locally. They had to say, okay, on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to drive myself into Philadelphia or to Reading, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to knock on doors. That was the only thing I needed from anyone. And the operation in New Jersey, it was below grassroots. It was like roots, worm roots organizing, because the Democratic parties in the Democratic counties were not participating in this until Halloween, possibly, for various reasons, which is a separate discussion. So I was in Sussex County driving around looking for Democrats. I was in Ocean County finding a freeholder candidate in a storefront in, I don't know what this town was, and you know, having 4 women who drove an hour to get there because they saw my thing online. And it's so true that, you know, I was told that I couldn't get people out of certain counties, and I had to go around all the existing organizations that are supposedly where you get your volunteers. You know, you call people on, if you're a true field organizer, your job is to make 400 phone calls, 200 phone calls a day. It's a lot of phone calls. But you find people and they're looking for you, and not everyone's can do that. I'm running a campaign right now for a woman who's running for state assembly in the 26th district, again, a very Republican district, and we're out every night, and she's talking to groups. And the other night we were in a town in Morris County, the local Democrats, there were 6 people there. And you know, it was a little discouraging for her because she thinks there's going to be 100 people at these things and they're all going to know everything. We had to give a civic lesson the other night on actually what a state assembly person did. But that's what you have to do. You just have to make calls. I come into this from journalism and I look at it like I'm looking for a source. Who do I need to talk to? Who's going to put me in touch with somebody else? And you know, where are you getting the people? I mean, by the end of the campaign, we were sending 50 people a day into Pennsylvania, just out of Morris County on the weekends, from 0. And that was just phone calls. It was just groundwork. It was driving in my car. I put 3,500 miles on my car in 2 months. So, you know, it's a lot of work, but you have to go to the people. Because my campaign right now, and I'll stop talking, we've been caught, and I call it like we're stuck in the harbor. She's had to do all of this top-level organizing. She's had to talk to all these party bosses. She's had to, you know, we've been trapped in these events. And you know what? She's not talking to one voter. Now she's out talking to the voters, and they don't care who you know. They don't care who's said, yay, go girl. They want to talk to her. They want to know what she's going to do for them. And that's how you win elections, I believe. Though it failed in Pennsylvania, and, you know, so.
I think there's a number of things. First of all, I absolutely agree with Al that organizing starts from the bottom. When I think about organizing, I think about everyday people that are coming together, who are committed to each other, who have a shared set of values, a shared set of goals, and are going after a shared set of outcomes, and who are doing things in a very similar way. And that's really organizing comes in, to try and get them to do things in a similar way. To Carrie's question, and in a consistent way, to Carrie's question, where do you start? Depends on what you're doing. If you're issue organizing and you have a broader you have a broader organization that may be helping you, they may have resources. If you're working for a political campaign, they may have some resources. So the first thing you do is assess what resources you have and start there. There's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel. If there are existing volunteer lists, start there. The key, I think, to organizing is forming teams, and volunteer-led teams. Organizers can't do all the work by themselves. In fact, they shouldn't do all the work by themselves. You burn out very quickly doing that. And you want to build teams that are sustainable, that you're building to last. You want to build teams that empower people. You want to build teams that are inclusive and welcoming, and you want to be able to choose a model, a team model that will work for you and make that happen.
So you really want to empower your members to go out and recruit, you know. And so there's a lot of the groups here and listening across the state, particularly in the South and red territories. You're not alone. I went to a meeting with Laura Fortang over here in Verona, which is very red. It started as 5 folks around a table. It was 200 people, and they would tell stories. They were afraid to wear the red pussy hats, right, or place on the Facebook. And their neighbors said, "Wow, I didn't know you were a Democrat." So where it starts is with you empower your members to go get recruits. And so why don't we talk a little bit? Al, you've recruited here in Montclair, Republic Montclair, but. What are the best techniques, or this question all of you, to go out and find new members and get engaged folks?
Okay, well, I'm basically a local person. I don't usually deal with, since the racial profiling days, I don't really deal with statewide or national issues. I'm a local kind of guy. I deal with the things that were happening in Montclair and, the local races and things like that. But one of the things that you try to do when you're trying to organize something local, for my benefit, is there are a lot of organizations, groups that already exist. And some of them are not political or activists, but they exist and they vote. So here in Montclair, you start to identify who those leaders are of those organizations, of the PTA, the football boosters, the Brownies, and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and those type of things. They're already organized. They're just not organized around what you want them to be organized around. And so the first thing I usually do when I'm trying to do something like that is to gain traction is but I'm from Montclair, so I almost know a lot of those people, you know what I mean? So then you try to interface with the people that are already organized and try to get them excited about whatever it is you're trying to become excited about, whether that's who's running for mayor, or when I was fighting against Carrier, do we appoint or do we vote for the school board? And you have to try to gain traction that way with people who are already organized, because
You won't let that one go, will you?
well, it's easy when you win. No. But that's what you want to do. You want to first start to, why make work for yourself when there are people that are already organized that you can interface with and start to try to coalesce around your issue, whatever that issue is. And that's where I would start.
Yeah, and actually to Al's point, we're here in the First Congregational Church, which is, those of you who know, it is a good progressive church. They're big partners. Even though they're religious and they're not politically active candidates, they're very involved in social issues. Gender equality, women's rights, clean air. So you don't necessarily have to find the Democratic Party there are allies out there in your community that you, to Al's point, that already exist but may not know, or talk about collaborating, that they could partner with on these issues. You guys want to elaborate on that?
I think partner organizations are absolutely critical. We have been blessed this election cycle with an incredible amount of activism. A number of people have already said it. It's pretty obvious at this point. And when you work for a campaign who basically provides the level of outreach to the community and to the state, and ask people to get involved, you can capitalize on that activism. But it goes beyond that. You need to then go to the activist groups or to your partner groups, as Al said, and talk about what it is that you have in common, and start to organize around common ground. And once you do that, people will, and then you have to do one other thing. You have to ask them to get involved. There's loads of reasons that people volunteer, a ton of them. They want to be part of something larger than themselves. They think they want to provide a community service. They want to acquire a new skill. They want to meet new people. They're all good, valid reasons. The main reason that people volunteer is because someone asked them to. It's just that simple. Think about it. You're here today on a voluntary basis because someone asked you to come here today. It's very, very, very powerful. And how you ask becomes very, very powerful as well. If you say to somebody, and this is really important, if you say to somebody, do you want to volunteer? They may, but it's kind of a soft ask. In fact, that's exactly what it's called. It's a soft ask. And people will sort of say, yeah, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. If you say to them, hey, I'm having a meeting about this next Tuesday night at the First Congregational Church at 7 o'clock, and I've got a group of people I'm inviting other people to come. Can you join us for that meeting? Now they're thinking about it in a different way. That's called a hard ask. And that's something that's really important for all organizers to know and to learn how to do and to practice and to teach your volunteers to do as well, because that would be one of the most effective tools that you can use. And if you're working on a campaign, you're doing hard asks all the time, particularly around election day. Will you vote for my candidate? Can I count on your vote? Will you be voting? Those are all hard, and you give them the time. Those are all hard asks, and they work.
So Robin, talk about also going into, you were in red territory, so.
I just wanted to emphasize this term hard ask, how important it is, because sometimes I'd be in other offices and people would be phone banking and it was a soft ask or a weak ask. A hard ask is, we have this event coming up, can we count on you to be there at this time? You have to ask people to specifically do something. You can't make it to Pennsylvania to canvass, can you come down to my office and phone bank Tuesday night? You're not comfortable on the phone, well, I need people to enter data, but you have to give people something to do and a time and a place to do it and not lose track of that. And you have to thank them and you have to invite them back. And there's a saying in organizing that people come for the candidate but stay for the organizer. You know, they become your responsibility, and you have to build a team because you can't do it yourself. I mean, the rule in organizing, your job is essentially to build yourself a team. And you have to engage people in whichever way you can. Sometimes you have to reassign people. Sometimes people think they can do a certain job and they can't. You don't want to lose them. You're not going to make them feel bad. You have to then find a way to reassign them. As for going into red territory, I had, you know, on Clinton campaign, and now again in the 26th district, I'm again sort of in this type of area. There's always people, I find in 2 campaigns now, there's people that are just waiting to hear from you. They really are. Now all these other organizations are out there to partner with. It's been incredible to be doing Laura's campaign and have AT&J and some of these other groups that have been helping us so much. It's really important to get people to work together, though, that you're not, I mean, I met Carrie on the Clinton campaign, and I remember he stopped coming into Philly for me. He got mad, and I had to beg him. I had to actually, I think one afternoon, just said, "Would you just please do it for me? Don't do it for Hillary, just do it for me."
It's a long story.
It's a long story.
A long story.
You know, I kind of like organizing in Republican territories because I feel there's like opportunity there. I feel, I was given Essex County at the very end of the Clinton campaign, and I honestly had very well-established groups, and I kind of got pushback. Well, we're doing our own thing. We've got a phone bank, you know, we're going into Philly by ourselves, or we don't want to go there, we want to go there. Well, we need you here. Where I kind of like being in the Republican territory sometimes because I can build from the ground up. And give people something to do, but of course it's harder to win. But there's always people that are looking for you. I mean, I would tell all of the organizations to look past where you think the low-hanging fruit is and go out there and talk to these people.
And frankly, one of the reasons we started Blue Wave is because the Democratic Party, besides some of them being corrupt, got lazy. So the 50-state strategy that Howard Dean worked, got us Congress in 2006, got us Obama, and they stopped that. And you know, so we as progressives have to know, there are Democrats voting who no one's asked in Mammoth County, in Morris County, and no one's actually asked them and activated them and said, you, as Eric says, can you do this? You know, so in the interest of time, the other part is you all have, you know, a lot of excitement, a women's march. Now you must know people starting to drift away. How do you keep members engaged long term? It's going to be a long 4 years. I know you're going to cringe. 2 years? Okay. And so how do you keep members engaged? How do you keep them activated? And what are some of the techniques you found?
Well, with me, it's you got to have a long-term goal, and I think sometimes, especially I find with younger people, like my 19, 20 years old, it's sometimes it's the trappings of being involved that really excites them the most. The signs and the standing there and going like this and things like that, but they don't engage in a long-term goal on what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? So when my issue was racial profiling and how the police treat the Black African American community. So you can bring it to light and you can do things. You go into newspapers, you do interviews, things like that. But what is your long-term goal? You know, so I had to sit down and had to say, well, actually, what my long-term goal is that this should be illegal. You know what I mean? And the people that appoint the chief of police in my town should be against racial profiling. So then how do I do that? Well, then I have to elect someone that's going to be that way. So then you start a political organization and people get involved that way. So you start off with a particular issue. You get known for that particular issue, but you got to start to, I guess they call it now, pivot in a long term and start to come up with ideas on how do you maintain this issue in the long term. So with me, it was getting people elected locally. That's how I continue to engage the people that I had met throughout my journey of trying to end racial profiling in New Jersey by getting involved in electoral politics and getting people on the local level who would appoint the chief of police that would do what I thought was best for my community.
I actually don't have the years of history to speak to that, honestly.
There are a number of things you can do that are important to retain your volunteers. One of the things that one of the people that I've worked with for a long time keeps reminding me, and she's absolutely right, is that as you build a team, the atmosphere that you build around that team is absolutely critical. It always has to be welcoming. Volunteers are a gold thread that run through your organization. They need to be treated that way because they deserve it. And once you have a team of volunteers, you're not ever going to let them go. You'll want them with you always. So being respectful of your volunteers and making sure that you're giving them roles that will make them feel that they're part of, because they are part of the organization, and empower them. So giving them pathways to increase their abilities within the organization via training. And training is an organizing tool, by the way. Becomes very, very important. And I encourage that anybody who organizes a team make sure that you find resources to get your team trained, particularly your core team members who are around you the most and who do the most work. The other thing that you can do to retain people is, and this is going to sound odd, that they don't get bored. About a third of the people who leave a volunteer organization leave because they get bored. So it's important to kind of manage them to their strengths, not necessarily their skills. That's not the same thing, but to their strengths, and bring them along that way. Those are really critical. Those are really critical, I think, on the ground types of things that you need to do to build a sustainable team. You want the team to last. You don't want a one and done kind of deal.
You know, along that point, I figured out a long time ago, I'm not a leader, I'm a facilitator. And when you find someone who wants to work, you delegate it and you give them the responsibility. You know, so a lot of the bus captains we have about 15 of them, the team leaders who go out canvassing, and the folks who do rallies. You know, actually, my poster child is Declan. He wasn't involved. His first canvassing with us in Philadelphia, a couple of weeks for election, he registered 3 voters in one afternoon, including a Holocaust survivor. So, you know, and so now he's running his own committee, and we have dozens of folks. Empower them, you know, give them responsibility. They won't get bored, and they own it, and they bring their friends in. So that's really what I see in a lot of groups. It becomes top-heavy, or they're afraid to let go. Worst that happens, someone screws up, so you clean it up, you know, assuming there's no lawsuits involved, right? One of the original...
I'm Alan Myers, and this topic is the one that's near to me, because I spent my life as a stagehand, and we're you-do-dats. People point to you and they say, you do that. Well, the truth is that if you have a core of people that are as committed as you are, then you can keep us around forever. I've never made a dime out of this organization. Where my satisfaction comes is for doing this, for walking around and holding the microphone, and for hanging the signs that are out there. You have in your organizations people just like me, and you need to cultivate them. Let them know they're appreciated. Give them work to do. They'll do it. And they'll stick around 13 years.
Yeah. Well, and talking about the hard ass, this is how I met Alan. We were doing the buses for Kerry, right?
No, it was that.
Or was it the Gore? I lost time.
No, it was the Luna thing, whatever that was. The Luna stage, that's where. And then he got me in I didn't even know who he was. He was this short, stocky thing. And he got to me in the Whole Foods shopping center. And the parking lot, he said, you know, we were talking about you. We wanted you to join the board. I had no idea what his name was. And what is his name?
That was my crazy twin brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, any questions out there? Yeah, sure.
Just one of the words that's been floating around in our discussion is the word commitment, and it is a critical word. And it goes to retention, it goes to empowerment, it goes to all the words that we've talked about. The way that you get people to stick is when you ask them for something, you're asking them to make a commitment. Those who are committed are the ones who are going to stay. They're the ones who are more likely going to be the ones who help you leave. And there are ways to do that. We don't have time to talk about that now, but there are definitely ways that you can facilitate that.
But here's the thing, to Eric's point. What we do is, and those of you doing it, whether you're canvassing or you're going to Rodney's on Fridays or Lance on Tuesdays, people are scared. You know, when I get a busload of new recruits, they think they're going to Fallujah, you know? And I say, hey, we're going to go talk to other Democrats. This is going to be fun. And so part of the talking to these, people want to get involved, they don't know how. Make it easy, make it fun. Anyway, any questions?
So to the point of keeping people involved. So the committee we started, I think for, it was Blue Wave NJ the 11th, there is Blue Jay NJ the 11th. So the first meeting we had 30 people turn up for the meeting. And, you know, everybody was engaged. The next meeting we had 18 people turn up for the meeting. And then inside of that core, you could immediately see who the people were that would actually do something. But you don't want to discourage the other, 10 people who aren't actually going to really do anything, but you still want to keep them involved. I mean, any advice how to keep those 10 people just as engaged as the 8 who are actually going to do something?
You know, a lot of people talk a good game. They're the ones who are loudest. They want to go and march in Trump, and you all experience this. Hey, why don't you do this thing, right? And the easiest way you get rid of them or get a recruit. No, it's a great idea. You do that. So either one or two things happen. You never see them again, or they do this thing, and that's how we get empowered leaders. People are not as, we're strange folks. I tell you this, we're weird. We care about this. We watch Rachel Maddow. We could quote what she says. We know what's going on with it. Most people, it's not their lives. And part of the danger is Trump is being normalized. But, there are a lot of people looking to get involved. And I say to them, you want to come once a week? You want to come once a month? You want to show up on a bus? I don't care, just show up. So I don't answer your question. The core team you're going to get, that's a win. Take it and grow on that. That's really the way I say it. So when you say only 75 people showed up in South, that's a win. Take it and grow on with that. That's something you should be proud of. Because you got those 75 people out there. No one else did. And those 75 people, when you say to them, bring in another one each, they all have friends and neighbors who believe what you did. Those 75 people will be a couple hundred before you know it. And then, right now, by the way, we have, streaming over here today, we had about 40 groups based on their membership. We're talking about representing 25,000 progressives across the state. That's amazing, and that's powerful. So, and we could grow that, and we will, because let me tell you, and that's the end of my speech, is, they're going to get better at doing these atrocities. They're going to, we think, it's only not even 100 days in, and the stuff that didn't think could happen, clean air, arts being cut, healthcare being destroyed, possible wars, that's all going to happen or may happen. And people are going to need a funnel for the outrage, and that's what everyone in this room is and everyone listening at home. So, you want to add?
Yeah, I think that what you add, and there's another question, I think what you do is, it's pretty much what Carrie's saying, is that you start to plan activities, and you start to invite people to those activities. And then you ask them to invite other people to those activities, and you'll find that your organization is growing. You may even have to grow your core team to accommodate that, so that you can manage it. But that's really how you do it. You just make sure that you are planning and asking and continuing to ask. Old saying in organizing is that organizing bottom line is this: you get what you ask for, and not much of what you don't. So you just keep doing that. And to add to that 75, I would have. I don't know what I would have given for 75 people a long time ago. I would have given a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I keep hearing numbers being bandied about, but I ran a statewide campaign against racial profiling. It was 10 people. It was only people like 10 people, and that was it. Couldn't get anybody else. So.
Yeah.
District 3 is the district. That's why I was excited about it.
No, but I understand, but you finally get involved in organizations. I mean, even at a Blue Wave meeting, I've been, in Blue Wave meeting, after Alan eats up all the food, there's really, what is it, 10 people there usually?
It was hardcore, yeah.
So organizations are, and it's actually, in my experience, it's actually better that for an organization to be run by a smaller group than trying to be a Athenian democracy with 50 people in the room trying to decide which way to go.
Yeah, also, if I could just, don't underestimate how effective a small group can be. And I just want to give you 2 examples. My phone bank in Ocean County had 4 people at it. But this one woman was some kind of phone banking phenom, had never done it before, booked some ridiculous number of shifts, but she also found a person on the phone who turned out being one of my travel captains. The woman signed up to do 14 shifts in Philadelphia. I needed a travel captain, which some people might know what that is, it's not important, but it was crucial to this particular effort, who I had no one else to do that job. And so many other great things came out of that. So it was a great night. It might have been one of my highest shift phone banks that I had. The other night, my candidate now was very disappointed at this turnout in Lincoln Park, and whether or not she didn't want to give her speech then because she thought it would overwhelm the room. But we walked out of there with a little check, which in her race is a big check. We got a great volunteer because we're a 2-person, 4-person operation. We just got a woman who's bringing, helping with refugees who might do fundraising and events for us. And she's got all this wonderful experience and she's redirecting her life. And we also came up with a secondary plan of how to present, how my candidate, how Laura can present her message to a smaller audience. And so it's always valuable. I never underestimate what can be accomplished with a small group.
And really, to put some of this in perspective,
It's on the second part.
organizing's hard. It's not easy stuff, and it takes an awful lot of patience. It takes a lot of persistence. It takes a lot of pragmatism. For a lot of people who are listening in or in the room who are just starting this for the first time, what you're seeing around you in terms of interest in activism and the activism itself is new, it's different. None of us have ever been doing this. None of us have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. Have ever seen this. The last time we saw anything like it was maybe during Vietnam, when people were in the streets. The fact
and it's even more powerful than Obama, because what my fear with Obama was people got him elected and they went home. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I think what you need to know is that what you saw, for instance, with the defeat of whatever the Republicans were calling their quasi-healthcare act, and I pointed this out to people, the speed at which that got turned around is really the exception. It's not the rule. It stands in stark relief to the kinds of battles that we fought to get the ACA, or to get Dodd-Frank, or to get gay marriage and get it pushed to the forefront to where the courts would deal with it. All of those things happen in small incremental steps. So small steps, small victories need to be viewed as large victories. And I just wanted to put that in perspective. It's very, very important. It's a slog. This is a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint.
I just want to say something else on that, in that there's a core of people that are going to stick around. This group in here is going to stick around. But when Carrie puts out a note that says, we got buses coming down to Washington, all of a sudden, the 6 buses get filled up, because not everybody can spend as much time as some of us can. But some of us can get on that bus for a day and go down there, and they're only too happy to put that time in. Those are the ones you also have to cultivate. Let them know that they're appreciated, so they'll keep coming back. The rest of us will keep organizing and getting the buses ready and have the captains, but we got to fill the seats.
There's a question over there.
Not really a question, but a statement. Because I'm new to political organizing, but I've been doing volunteer work for like 25 years. Having a huge number of people and a very small number of people who actually do something is normal, and it's not a problem. Like, my first volunteer group, someone said to me that 10% of the people do 90% of the work. And that is held true for politics now, for 4-H, for the medieval recreation group I did, for everything. It doesn't really seem to matter. So if you have like 2,000 people following you, I mean, I wish, but if you had 2,000 people following you, but then only 40 show up to a meeting, that's normal. It's not a problem, not something you're doing wrong. It's, you know, and you don't get angry at those 2,000 people that didn't show up. You know, still keep including them and understanding that it's part of volunteer work.
Yeah, and I think social media, to like a page, you know, you don't have to leave your house. You can do that on your phone, and it can give you a false sense of expectations. Well, there's 4 million people on my Facebook page. That doesn't mean they're going to show up for anything, you know. But they're supporting you in some regards. So you listen to the gentleman who was giving your social media strategies and do that.
It's also, organizing is incredibly gratifying. Everything comes together. Everything really comes together. And you know you had something to do with that. Everybody had that feeling that Friday when the bill never got to a vote. Everybody did.
I just want to say one more thing. Please send your volunteers. Think about this year volunteering on an actual campaign. There's a lot of people running for office. Women, there's a lot of first-timers, and not just at these big levels, in your local government as well, because that's where the farm team is. So please.
So a couple things to a point. Blue Wave is going to, I think with Action Together, we're going to be doing a women's candidates forums. A lot of these women candidates need resources. June 17th, the primary is over, we're going to have a giant get out to vote training. It's everything you want to know. Voter registration, canvassing, phone banking. We'll have a master class. We'll train the trainers. And by then, we'll have a Democratic candidate, and we're going to go straight into the general election. So the main thing is, listen, what you guys are doing is amazing. We who've been around for a while, even those who are new, we've never seen anything like it. So just keep up the good work and don't quit. I mean, I'm going to come down there and I'll be the 76th person, but don't quit. Thank you all.